Good evening. So tonight, you are being armed with knowledge to make informed educational choices for your children. And I would like to discuss another important and viable option that may be right for your family, and that's homeschooling. Now, what is homeschooling? Well, according to Merriam-Webster, the definition is to teach school subjects to one's children at home. Well, with all due respect to Merriam-Webster, I'd like to propose a modern, broader definition, and that is homeschooling is parents choosing to educate their children from a home base. And why is there a need to redefine the term? Well, as the number of homeschoolers have grown, at last count there were over 2 million, parents have discovered a multitude of great resources, and many of them are outside of the home. So they take advantage of these resources, especially for upper grades. And tonight I will be covering why families choose to homeschool, how to establish a homeschool, available resources, and a little bit about our family. With the limited amount of time I have, I will only cover 4 key reasons why families choose to homeschool. And the first is academics. Homeschooling gives parents the flexibility to choose and customize their children's educational experience. You might have a gifted learner. You might have a special needs child. Maybe you have a child who wants to dig deeper into a particular subject or wants to take a wider breadth of courses than available at the school. As parents, you are able to choose the best path for your children. Now, how successful are homeschoolers in academics? Well, the National Home Education Research Institute did a study that demonstrated that home-educated students typically score 15 to 30 percentile points above public school students on standardized tests. And these scores were achieved regardless of their parents' level of income or their parents' level of formal education. In addition, colleges are actively recruiting homeschooled students. Another reason why families choose to homeschool is socialization. Now, I remember when we first started homeschooling, that was the question we always got. Well, what about socialization? And I said, well, it's because of socialization that we decided to homeschool, because we are aiming for healthy socialization. Rather than interacting with other students, solely their own peer group, the majority of homeschoolers regularly participate in the community. You can find them getting involved with scouting programs, field trips, church ministries, sports teams, volunteer organizations, and they learn to engage with people of all ages. Parents also choose to homeschool their children to provide a safer environment, free from physical violence, from bullying, drugs and alcohol, psychological abuse, racism, and as you've seen tonight, highly inappropriate content. And last but not least, many families choose to homeschool their children to ensure that they are receiving a faith-based education. So, why choose to homeschool? The bottom line, parental rights. Now let's go over how you can establish a homeschool in our state. Under California law, all children between the ages of 6 and 18 must attend a full-time public school unless exempted. Now, California parents have the right to exercise one of 4 legal exemptions to homeschool their children. And by the way, all this information that we're covering tonight will be available to you in handouts. The option number 1 is you can establish a private school in your own home. The state of California allows parents to establish a private school in their own home. And parents who choose to do this must file what is called a private school affidavit, or PSA for short, with the Superintendent of Public Instruction between October 1st and October 15th of every year. The PSA is available online, and in my experience, it only takes about 15 minutes to fill out. And there is no cost to file a private school affidavit. Now, here's an important note. A PSA, or private school affidavit, does not create your school. It does not mean that you are requesting or receiving approval from the government. It does not mean that your school is accredited. Filing the affidavit simply means that you are declaring your private school and that you have complied with the Educational Code 33190, which requires the annual filing. Option number 2 is you can enroll your child in a private school satellite program, otherwise known as a PSP. A PSP is an umbrella organization that will file the private school affidavit on your family's behalf, as well as the other families in the group. They must still comply with the same legal requirements as option number 1. And also, it's important to note that the PSP might be comprised solely of homeschoolers, or they might be an extension of a campus-based private school. And option number 3 is a less common option, and that is the tutorial exemption. This is when a parent holds a California teaching credential, or they employ a private tutor who holds a California teacher's credential for the grades and subjects taught. And finally, option number 4 is to enroll your child in a public charter school or independent school program. Now, families who choose this option need to know a very important thing. First of all, you will still be under the authority of the public school system. This means that they have a say in the curriculum you use, and it also means they have a say in how you run your homeschool. More specifically, charters will also be subject to the same comprehensive sexuality education mandates that you heard about tonight. The same mandates that the brick and mortar public schools must follow. AB 2601 is the law that extended the sex ed mandate to charter schools. And Governor Brown passed and signed this law this past August. So all charter schools are required to be in compliance with this law for this coming 2019-2020 school year. So it's right around the corner. So you need to know that if you are going through a public charter school, that is what's ahead. Now, once you've made the decision to homeschool, what's next? Well, let's talk about some resources that are available to you. Most families want support, and the best way to receive it is to join a homeschool support group. Now, we are so blessed in California to be surrounded by a lot of resources. So please know that you do not have to go it alone. If you enroll in a private school satellite program or a PSP, you automatically have a built-in support group of other families. If you file a private school affidavit, like our family did, you still have access to homeschool support groups. Through the years, our family was involved in multiple groups, often with 50 to 100 plus families. So we were never at a lack for socialization. We also connected with other homeschoolers at church and at our extracurricular activities. Homeschoolers are everywhere. Now, if you're not sure where to start, we have a list of resources we're providing tonight, and also Christian Home Educators Association has on their website a search engine where you can find a group in your area. Curriculum is widely available. Homeschoolers not only have access to the same curriculum that's taught in Christian private schools, but we also have access to curricula that's created especially for homeschoolers with excellent content, ease of use, often the ability to use it across multiple grade levels. And there are classroom programs available for homeschoolers. They may meet once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, so you have additional support. And there is a plethora of online courses. Some of them are in real time, and others are self-paced. And co-ops are a great resource. A co-op stands for cooperative, and it involves a group of families who get together and they share in the work of teaching different subjects and planning activities. Tutoring is also an option, either in person or online. And finally, dual enrollment is a fantastic option. In dual enrollment, students will take classes at the community college during high school, thereby earning both high school credit and college credit at the same time. There are 2 key organizations I'd like for you to check out. One is Christian Home Educators Association, or CHIA, and the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, or HSLDA. They provide many resources to homeschoolers, both beginners and veterans. And also, a great thing to do is to check out a homeschool convention. It's a way for you to gather more information. You can network with other families. You can go to workshops and listen to veterans share their wisdom. And my favorite part, you can go to the exhibit hall and you can actually look at curriculum, check out the programs available to you. There are 2 coming up this summer in SoCal. There's the Great Homeschool Convention, which will be in June in Ontario, and then the CHIA Convention will be in July in Pasadena. Now, I wish I could bring up 100 families here and have them share their stories. No 2 would be alike, but I've been asked to share a little bit about our family, and so here's what we did. Ooh, that's a big picture. Well, we started homeschooling really as a leap of faith. Our eldest son had kind of ADHD, and we were concerned about how he would adapt to a classroom environment. So I came from a finance background, and I had to learn on-the-job training when we started homeschooling. But as God blessed us with 2 more children, and we began to see the effectiveness of homeschooling, we decided to see it as a way of life, and then we never looked back. I have homeschooled our 3 children from preschool through high school. And we tried nearly every approach that I can think of. And some approaches were better than others, but we kept charging on. We joined a homeschool group. We went on field trips. We spent hundreds of hours at the city library and borrowed hundreds of books. Our kids took outside classes, they took online classes, sometimes they worked with tutors, and some years we did co-ops with other families. When one of my kids had a learning challenge, we were able to focus on that and to remediate it. When one of my children had a health issue, we were able to slow down schooling for that child and focus on healing. When one of my children craved advanced knowledge in a certain subject, God brought a professor from Georgia who gave him online classes. And he ended up becoming such a huge supporter of our homeschool that he offered to write a letter of recommendation for his college applications. So that was great. When my dad was battling cancer and went into hospice in another state, we took our homeschool on the road. We were able to minister to him, and our kids were able to spend their final months with Grandpa. And I must say that we learned precious life lessons that you can never find in a textbook. So my homeschool season is kind of nearing an end. As you heard, my eldest son is at Harvey Mudd College. He's a junior. He is currently majoring in computer science math joint major and is preparing to apply to PhD programs. Our daughter will be heading to Azusa Pacific University in the fall, plans to become an occupational therapist, and our younger son, who is 4 weeks away from graduating high school, is currently weighing his college acceptances, which include 2 full-ride scholarships to 2 different universities. So God has been gracious, and we are very grateful. But beyond academics, I must say that our family has seen that homeschooling is ultimately about relationships. We have spent a lot of time together, and we've had a chance to talk about the issues of life and faith. We were able to talk about sex, but in appropriate ways and at appropriate times. It's been challenging, but it has been worth it. And I'm here to tell you that if I can do it, if the other homeschoolers around you can do it, with God's help, you can do it too. So if God calls you to homeschool, he will equip you. He is faithful. Thank you.